Do you want to know the perfect recipe for staying depressed? I'm being serious. I believe most of us are already experts on our depression. Depression doesn't just show up, it thrives on patterns we unknowingly repeat. So instead of me giving you tips on how to improve depression, let's talk about how to make it worse. This probably sounds strange, but most of us engage in these depressive habits and behaviors without even realizing it. So in this video, we're going to lean into the idea of exactly how to stay stuck in depression. So maybe, just maybe, shining a bit more light on how to actually start breaking free. Hi, I'm Albert, a licensed mental health therapist and a fellow traveler in this thing we call life. Depression is hard, and climbing out can feel impossible sometimes. But here's something most people don't talk about. Most of us are already experts in depression. It's true, every patient I've ever met, from kids, teens to adults, who are struggling with depression are already experts on depression, although they may not know it yet. You see, sometimes we unknowingly create a perfect environment for depression to thrive. We sustain these patterns for days, months, and even years until we lose sight of how we even got here to begin with. It becomes what's known as a vicious cycle, feeding on itself, keeping us stuck in a relentless loop, like a hamster on a wheel. It drains our energy, but takes us absolutely nowhere. No matter how many self-help books we read, podcasts we listen to, therapy sessions we attend, or advice we get, we're still taking one step forward and two steps back, only to find ourselves back to where we started. So today, I want to take a different approach, one I use in my clinical practice. Inspired by ancient Stoic wisdom and a touch of light humor, we're going to explore all the surefire ways to stay depressed. You might be wondering why. Well, because when we clearly see the traps we're falling into, we gain the power to break free. It's about taking an honest look at what you do have control over, your actions, your habits, and how you might be unknowingly contributing to the cycle. And with a little bit of awareness, you can take back control and start to change its course. So settle in. I have 9 things you can do to get depressed and stay depressed. This is a conversation that might feel a bit different, but could make all the difference. And what's more, you may realize you already know this stuff. So if anything resonates with you, make sure to share your insight in the comments below. It matters. Let's start with an easy one, exercise. Often the first thing we avoid when we're feeling down. And conveniently, it's one of the best ways to stay stuck. Exercise releases endorphins, those annoying little chemicals that make you feel better. So if you want to stay depressed, avoid physical activity at all costs. In fact, make the couch your new best friend. Skip the walk, cancel the yoga class. And let's be honest, sweating is overrated, right? The Stoics had this practice called premeditation of evils, where they'd imagine the worst case scenarios to prepare for them. Here's a modern twist. If your worst case scenario is staying stuck, avoiding exercise is a great first step. Now, what's depression without a healthy dose of isolation? Social connection is one of the biggest antidotes to feeling low. So naturally, it's the first thing to cut out if you want to stay depressed. Avoid your friends, your family, and anyone who might remind you that you're loved or valued. Isolation is the perfect breeding ground for loneliness and despair. Cancel your plans, turn off your phone, and if someone asks you how you're doing, just say you're fine and leave it at that. Isolation gives your inner critic the stage all to itself. It's like handing the microphone to your biggest bully and saying, "Take it away." Speaking of bullies, let's talk about your inner critic. Depression loves to feed on its messages and dismiss everything that's positive so that you don't have a balanced perspective about yourself. Your inner critic is an absolute pro at making you miserable, so give it the spotlight. You're not good enough, why even try? Other people have it worse, so stop complaining. Let these thoughts replay on a loop until they feel like undeniable truths. What if you treated your inner critic like a terrible roommate? Instead of listening to it, you could evict it, but evicting it would ruin all that carefully cultivated misery, wouldn't it? Here's another great way to stay stuck. Avoid the present moment entirely. Why focus on the here and now when you can obsess over the past or catastrophize about the future? Rehash every mistake you ever made, imagine worst case scenarios that haven't happened yet and probably never will. The present moment is overrated anyway. Now here's another thing, the Stoics believe peace comes from focusing on what you can control. But hey, spiraling into endless what ifs and regrets is way more fun when you're aiming to feel worse. Now let's not forget about your environment. If you really want to stay depressed, make sure you avoid sunlight and fresh air. Sunlight is basically kryptonite for depression. So draw the blinds, stay in your pajamas, and avoid fresh air like it's a tax audit. Skip the walk outside, don't even think about opening the curtains. Look, your environment shapes your mind. A dark, cluttered space is like a mirror for your inner chaos. But clearing it out or letting in sunlight, that might let hope sneak in, and we wouldn't want that. Let's talk about what you put in your body. Food has a powerful impact on your mood, so if you want to feel worse, you've got to make sure your diet reflects that. Skip the veggies and other whole foods. Overload on sugar, MSG, and processed snacks. The more processed, the better. And wash it all down with caffeine and alcohol for the perfect crash. And let me add, depression loves a sluggish, malnourished body. A poor diet is like handing it a VIP pass to stick around for as long as it wants. Here's another great trick. Forget about having any goals or intentions. Goals provide purpose and direction, so naturally avoid them. Wake up without any intention and just drag yourself to your job that you hate because you have to and not because you get to or want to. Move through your day on autopilot and dream about the life you want and an ideal job that doesn't even seem to exist. And definitely make sure to keep looking forward to the weekends and a possible week or 2 week vacation that happens only once a year, if you're lucky, in order to live your life. Don't write down your dreams. Don't take small steps towards anything. And definitely don't celebrate wins, no matter how small. Setting daily intentions and setting even the tiniest goal can create momentum. Who needs momentum when you've got inertia? And one of the most effective ways to stay depressed is avoid therapy at all costs. Just don't even think about it. Don't go to therapy. Just don't. Talking to someone professional might help you understand your depression, or worse, give you tools to cope with it. Instead, convince yourself that your problems are too big or too small for therapy. Depression loves silence. It loves people who are smart enough to intellectualize and rationalize a mental labyrinth of reasons why they don't need therapy. Therapy is like turning on the lights in a dark room, and we wouldn't want that now, would we? And lastly, here's a fun one. Let's talk about complaining, an easy, accessible, powerful tool to make you and others around you feel worse. So, if you really want to dig into your depression, here's a pro tip. Complain a lot. And better yet, surround yourself with others who complain just as much. Seek out people who echo your frustrations without offering solutions. Share your grievances with those who say, yeah, life is really awful, and leave it at that. Avoid anyone who gently suggests taking small steps forward. They'll just ruin the vibe. Here's the thing. You are the sum of the people you spend the most time with. If your circle is full of people stuck in the same rut, it creates the perfect echo chamber of negativity. Together, you can keep the hopelessness alive and make sure no one even thinks about change. Let me be clear, I'm not demonizing complaining. Venting and processing emotions are essential parts of healing. In fact, finding a group or a person you trust to share your struggles with, whether it's in therapy, group therapy, or a supportive mentor, can be incredibly valuable. In a productive and supportive environment, complaining becomes more than just venting. It transforms into a tool for learning, building insights, and gaining clarity. But here's the key. Intention. Is the complaining helping you process and grow, or is it just reinforcing the feelings of being stuck? One leads to progress, while the other keeps you trapped in a cycle that's hard to break. So there you have it, the ultimate guide to staying depressed. Sure, there are probably a lot more that you can think of, but here's the real question. Are you ready to stop following this playbook? Recognizing these patterns is one of the first steps toward breaking free. What I shared with you today is a therapeutic technique called inversion, the power of thinking backwards. This way of thinking where you consider the opposite of what you want has been used by some of the greatest thinkers and problem solvers throughout history. When I first learned about inversion, I didn't fully realize how powerful it could be, but as I studied it more, I came to see that it's not just a mental exercise, it's a crucial skill for gaining clarity and perspective, and you can use it in many different ways. By flipping the problem on its head and asking what would guarantee failure or what would make things worse, inversion gives us a roadmap for problem solving. It exposes blind spots and shows us the traps we may be falling into without realizing it. This idea isn't just theoretical, practical. In therapy, I use inversion to help patients look at their lives from a fresh perspective. By recognizing the patterns and habits that keep them stuck, they begin to see that they have the power to change. And that's the beauty of this technique. Once you identify these traps, you're no longer operating on autopilot. You have the awareness and the tools to make different choices. I'll leave you with a final message. What's one trap you can step away from today? And I'll say this again, most of us are already experts in our depression, though we might not realize it yet. We live with it, adapt to it, and unknowingly reinforce it in ways that feel so normal we barely notice. So the point of this video is to not mock depression, it's to hold up a mirror to help us see the patterns that keeps us stuck. A lot of the time, we already have the answers inside of us. People often come to therapy asking, what should I do? But the real question is often, what shouldn't I do? Or what am I doing that is keeping me here? Before we can move forward, we need to understand how we got here. If we skip this process and if we just slap on the best tools and techniques onto our lives without addressing the patterns and habits we've been using in the other deeper parts of ourselves, those same patterns in the parts that kept us stuck will find a way to stop the progress we're trying to make. It's like working against the current. This is why, like I said earlier, self-help books often do not work. One study published in the American Psychologist found that many self-help programs lack personalization and accountability, which are critical for real change. Another study in the Journal of Positive Psychology revealed that people who rely heavily on self-help resources without deeper reflection or support often feel worse over time because they start to believe they're failing at something that's supposed to be easy. This ties into what I've seen time and time again. When we skip the process of truly knowing ourselves, when we don't take the time to understand the patterns, fears, and unmet needs that keep us stuck, those parts of us that are neglected will sabotage our progress. We self-sabotage all the time, but it's not because we're weak or broken. It's because the parts of us that keeps us stuck needs attention. And like I say all the time, this part of us is a survival mechanism. So they need compassion. They need to know that the future version of ourselves we're trying to build is safe and that those mechanisms are no longer needed. I know this because I've been there. I've struggled with depression myself, and it's not easy. We all have blind spots. Things we can't see or understand about ourselves until we dig a little deeper. Therapy gave me the space to begin doing that, and it's why I encourage anyone who feels stuck to give themselves a chance to truly know who they are. In order to truly appreciate where you want to go, you need to know where you are and where you've been. If you're struggling, please don't underestimate what you're capable of, not just in this moment, but over the course of a lifetime. The smallest steps you take today can build into incredible change over time. you are stronger and more resilient than you might fear right now. Depression is heavy, and I won't pretend it's easy to climb out of it, but it starts with small intentional steps. Talk to someone you trust, someone who is empathetic, or consider therapy as a space to get to know yourself and the patterns keeping you stuck. If this video resonated with you, I'd love for you to like, share, and subscribe.